A good song is a good song.
Okay.
You know, and you can jazz it up or do it with whatever rhythm you like. But if the song is there, it stands.
John Lennon was never perfect, and maybe that's why people still care. He was messy, reckless, sometimes cruel. He spoke without a filter, hurt the people closest to him, and then tried to make it right in song.
The only thing you done was yesterday.
He could be the bastard and the saint in the same breath, spitting rage one moment, whispering peace the next. And yet, what drew millions to him wasn't polish. It was the cracks. In his voice you could hear everything he carried: the abandoned child, the angry young man, the dreamer who still believed love might save the world. He wasn't untouchable like Paul, or distant like George, or simple like Ringo. He was human, in all its contradiction, ugly, beautiful, unfinished. That's why people leaned in. In the end, Lennon's truth lived in the songs he couldn't dismiss, the rare six that broke through the sneer, the bravado, and the masks. Number 1, All My Loving.
All my loving.
For John Lennon, All My Loving was one of those rare early moments when Paul McCartney's songwriting stopped him cold. Written in 1963, unusual because Paul began with the lyrics before the melody, it quickly became a centerpiece of their live shows and one of the band's most polished early classics. Lennon didn't usually hand out praise, especially not to Paul, but this time he did. In his Playboy interview, he admitted, "It's a damn good piece of work, but I play a pretty mean guitar on it." That chugging rhythm part, influenced by the Crystals' Da-Do Ron Ron, gave the track its restless drive and his signature bite. What makes that moment remarkable is how rarely he credited McCartney without undercutting it. But here, he didn't hedge. He acknowledged Paul's craft and his own role in the same breath, no competition, just respect. And then there's the haunting footnote. According to TV producer Alan Weiss, All My Loving was playing over the speakers at Roosevelt Hospital the night Lennon was pronounced dead, December 8, 1980. The first song, the partnership at its purest, and the last sound echoing through the room as one half of it disappeared. Lennon never sentimentalized music, but he recognized power when he heard it, and this song had it, from the first note to the last. Number 2, Hey Jude. Some songs feel like comfort. Hey Jude felt like forgiveness. Paul McCartney wrote it in 1968, trying to console Julian Lennon as John's marriage was breaking apart. But when John first heard it, he felt something deeper. Paul said it was written about Julian, my child, Lennon said years later, but I always heard it as a song to me. He's saying, "Hey Jude, hey John." That was Lennon's way. He took everything personally, especially beauty. He called the track a masterpiece. And for once, there was no sarcasm behind it. The song arrived in the middle of chaos, the band fracturing, new loves entering, old loyalties fading. Yet in Hey Jude there was still warmth, an echo of friendship that hadn't completely burned away. There's also that line McCartney nearly erased. "The movement you need is on your shoulder." Paul thought it sounded silly, ready to change it, but Lennon stopped him.
"I'll change that." He said, "You won't, you know." He said, "That's the best line in the song."
It was pure John, cutting through doubt with conviction, seeing truth where others saw imperfection. Even in the noise, even in the wreckage, this one sounded like hope, and for Lennon, that was enough. Number 3, Across the Universe. If there was one song John Lennon believed could outlive him, it was Across the Universe. He wrote it in 1967, late at night at his home in Kenwood, after a quiet argument with Cynthia. The words arrived unplanned, like they'd been waiting for him. Words are flowing out like endless rain into a paper cup. Unlike so many of his other songs, Lennon didn't measure this one in melody or production. He measured it in spirit. He re-recorded it, reworked it, never quite satisfied, yet he never stopped loving it.
I like Across the Universe too. Because it's one of the best lyrics I've written. You know. In fact, it could be the best, I don't know. I mean, it's one of the best. It's good poetry, or whatever you call it. Without tune, it stands. Without a song, see, the ones I like are ones that stand as words. You know, without melody. They don't have to have any melody. It's a poem. You know, you can read them.
Number 4, Here, There, and Everywhere. Every rivalry has a moment of grace, and for John Lennon and Paul McCartney, this was it. Here, There and Everywhere came in 1966, a soft and tender piece on the Revolver album that Lennon simply couldn't ignore. He didn't analyze it, he didn't twist it. He just listened and loved it. "That's Paul's song completely," Lennon once said, "and one of my favorite songs of the Beatles." It might have been the only time Lennon ever complimented Paul without a trace of irony. McCartney still remembers it vividly.
And we played Here, There, and Everywhere, and he said, "Whoa,
That's
that's a
good.
really great song," you know. He
Were you
didn't say your
flabbergasted?
songs. Yeah, because he never complimented me like that.
For Paul, that one moment stayed with him for decades. The man who never praised anyone had finally let a little light through. The song itself was everything Lennon usually avoided: romantic, graceful, almost fragile. Yet maybe that's what drew him in. Beneath the melody, there was truth. It wasn't showmanship or sentiment, it was presence, pure and human. For a band often divided by ego, Here, There, and Everywhere was a brief ceasefire. It was Lennon recognizing beauty without needing to own it, proof that even in tension there could still be tenderness. In that simple phrase, "I need her everywhere," he heard what he rarely said out loud, that love, no matter how complicated, still mattered. Number 5, I Want to Hold Your Hand. Before the world screamed their names, before the headlines and the hysteria, there was this song. I Want to Hold Your Hand was written in 1963, in the basement of Jane Ash's house, with John and Paul sitting side by side at the piano. Two young men, nose to nose, searching for something that didn't exist yet. Lennon remembered it vividly. "We got to the chord that made the song, and I said, 'That's it, do that again.' That was the magic of their partnership, instinct and electricity. The song became their first American hit, the spark that ignited Beatlemania. But for Lennon, it meant something more personal. He called it a beautiful melody, one of the few he spoke about with affection in his later years.
There's some song, I Want to Hold Your Hand, you know. We wrote that too. It's a beautiful melody.
It wasn't just nostalgia. It was a memory of creation, when everything still felt possible. Before lawyers, before fame, before fractures, when the only thing that mattered was the next chord. He once said, "We wrote a lot of stuff together, one-on-one, eyeball to eyeball, and I Want to Hold Your Hand captured that feeling better than any other. The unity, the energy, the innocence." For Lennon, the song was a time capsule. Every time he heard it, he could still see that cellar, that spark, that friendship that started it all. It wasn't just a hit. It was the sound of two kids discovering the world and holding onto it for dear life. Number 6, Yesterday. Yesterday was Paul McCartney's moment of solitude, and John Lennon knew it. Recorded in 1965, with only Paul's voice, guitar, and a string quartet, it was the first time a Beatle stepped into the studio alone. And instead of resentment, Lennon showed something rarer: admiration. "That's Paul's song and Paul's baby," he said in 1980. "Well done. Beautiful. And I never wished I'd written it." Coming from Lennon, that was monumental. This was the man who once mocked the song in How Do You Sleep, with the line, "The only thing you done was yesterday, but time softened the edges." He later admitted the lyrics were good, even if, in his words, they don't resolve. What mattered wasn't structure, it was honesty. Lennon often said the songs he loved most could stand as poetry without melody. Yesterday did exactly that. It wasn't dressed up in clever wordplay or social commentary. It was simple, aching, and human, the kind of song Lennon spent years learning to write himself. He knew its power because it revealed something he understood better than anyone: loss. The kind that lingers quietly, without drama or resolution. And maybe that's why, in the end, he respected it so deeply. Yesterday was the song that proved Paul could be as vulnerable as John, and Lennon never forgot it. John Lennon once said the songs he loved most were the ones that told the truth, the ones that could stand as words, even without melody. Maybe that's why these 6 stayed with him. All My Loving, Hey Jude, Across the Universe, Here, There, and Everywhere, I Want to Hold Your Hand, and Yesterday. Together, they trace his life in reverse, from fury to forgiveness, from rivalry to reverence. But these weren't the only ones. He carried others quietly. In My Life, which he called his first real piece of himself. Help, his disguised cry for rescue. Strawberry Fields Forever, the dream that refused to fade. Even A Day in the Life, fragmented, haunting, brilliant, showed the balance between his chaos and his clarity. Those songs filled in the spaces between what he said and who he really was. Lennon spent years trying to outrun the Beatles, to burn the myth and start over. But the truth was, he never escaped it. These songs, his and theirs, were the proof that something honest had been created, something bigger than fame or failure. He didn't need to be perfect. He just needed to be real. And that's why, decades later, we're still listening. So, what about you? Do you agree with Lennon's choices? Or is there another Beatles song that still hits harder for you? Tell us in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep listening. Because in the end, the music never stopped.